Ladies and gentlemen, Capital G back at it here with you for a deck tech with Urza, Lord High Artificer. Perhaps the most broken commander to come out in quite some time. I do not recommend building this deck. I do not know if the rules committee is going to take a good hard look at Urza and be like, yeah, no. Time will tell. We'll give it a few months and see what everybody thinks. But this card is legitimately broken, in my honest opinion, as it should be, because this is Urza. For those that are newer to the game and you don't know Urza at all, Urza was Jace before Jace was Jace. That's a good way to sum it up. He was responsible for a lot of the historical events that took place in the game, mostly on Dominaria, of course. He was responsible for the destruction of Sarah's realm. He was responsible for the Ice Age. He was one half of the Brothers' War himself versus Mishra. And he was also responsible for repelling the Phyrexian invasion. That last act was what eventually took his life. He had to give up his life because his own head, quite literally, was a piece of the legacy. The weapon that eventually turned the tide and won the war for Dominaria. So, there you go. He's also responsible for creating Karn. So, there you go. His influence is still present on the game. He created Karn. He was the one who accelerated Teferi's learning and the ignition of his spark. So he is responsible for Teferi as well. That in turn led Teferi to have to fix all of the time rifts during the events of the time spiral block, which led to the sundering and the nuking of all of the Planeswalkers. So there you go. His impact is still felt on the game today, even though he has not been present as a character since about 2001. So he's back, and we have ourselves literally the most powerful commander ever printed at this point. And we'll see how long he stays legal. I'm assuming they'll ban him, honestly, because he's that good. Now let's show you what I've got here. So double blue and 2, he's got a 1/4, 1 power, 4 toughness. He is a human artificer. So this is either before, I guess this is meant to represent him before his spark ignited. When Urza, Lord High Artificer, comes into the battlefield, you get a 0/0 colorless construct artifact token that gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. You can tap an untapped artifact to add a blue mana to your mana pool. And you can pay 5, shuffle the top card of your library, then exile the top card. You may play that card without paying its casting cost. So yeah. So there's lots of infinite combos that you can use to win the game with Urza. That's pretty much it. Big mana, lots of rocks, untap them all the time and go infinite. Now, being a blue mage, of course, we're going to go counterspell heavy. Throw in the new Archmage's Charm, throw in counterspell. Urza is really going to be the only creature in the deck, so Evacuation, Cyclonic Rift. The new Force of Negation and the old school Force of Will. Negate, Swan Song. I went all out with this build. This is not a deck I will build in real life. This is not a deck I recommend you should build in real life. But yeah, we're going all out. No budget restrictions or anything here. Trinisphere, Winter Orb. These things are meant to really disrupt our opponents, make it harder for them to untap or even cast their spells. We're going to do a lot of extra turn shenanigans, so if you pay 5, you hit one of these, shuffle back in and take the extra turn. So Beacon of Tomorrow's, Expropriate, Nexus, Temporal Manipulation, Temporal Mastery, Time Warp. Walk the Aeons is a good choice, I think, because hey, you can sacrifice islands. So you pay your 5 using your artifact, sacrifice 3 islands to buy this back, so you have more extra turns. Dramatic Reversal is here along with its cousin Isochron Scepter, so that's one of the ways this deck goes infinite. Untap all non-land permanents you control, including the very scepter that you are using. Extraplanar Lens, with the return of snow-covered lands, I went ahead and did the Extraplanar Lens snow-covered island trick. We have High Tide in here for good measure, Palinchron is here for good measure, Fabricate to tutor out our key artifacts, Paradox Engine. Hey, you pay 5, you cast the spell, and then you untap all your non-land permanents. I've got Teferi and Tezzeret here with the Chain Veil, so you get a bunch of extra actions off of that as well. Some cards, some cheap artifacts that we can also use to help draw cards. Aether Spellbomb, Alchemist Vial, Alchemist Astrolabe. Just because it's only going to cost 1 mana to draw a card. That's what it's here for. It's 1 mana to draw a card, and then once Urza's out, this taps for blue mana. So, Brainstorm, Chromatic Sphere, and Chromatic Star. You have to sacrifice these to get the card draw. But if we don't need the card draw, it's 1 tap for a blue. Coveted Jewel. It costs 6, but hey, it draws us 3 cards, and if we're going off, then we're never going to have to worry about this actually going to another player. Got Howling Mind here, because if you tap it for a mana, that means nobody else gets the card draw. So you get 2 card draws on your turn, everyone else only gets the 1. I have both Wellsprings in here because they can tap for the blue. 1 draws us a card, 1 pulls an island from our deck, so let's put those in there. Merchant Scroll pulls out a blue instant card. This is, of course, the instant card that we want, either High Tide or Dramatic Reversal. Preordain, of course, again to draw through. Prophetic Prism, again just for the card draw and tapping for mana. Sad Robot, same deal. Taps for the blue mana, pulls out a land. If it ever dies, then we get the extra card draw as well. Trading Post, it's a good way to recur our artifacts if we can. We won't have a lot of creatures to sacrifice, but if ever we get one of these guys, because that's pretty much it for creatures, then yeah. Tribute Mage, of course, this is to get Icecrown Scepter ideally. Trinket Mage can get any of our 1 mana artifacts, including Everflowing Chalice, Wayfarer's Bauble. Cold Steel Heart, it taps for snow. Not super relevant, but hey, it's a snow artifact. I figure it's on flavor for what I'm doing with this. Joyous Familiar to reduce the cast of our historic spells. Potentially make all of these guys free. Mindstone, Prismatic Lens. Taps for mana already, so why not? Sapphire Medallion, make our blue spells a little cheaper. And it it itself will soon be tapping for a blue once Urza is out, so this leads to turn 3 Urza. Sky Diamond, Soul Ring, Thought Vessel. Threw in Training Grounds here to make it a little cheaper to activate Urza. Why not? Figured it was a good idea. Make it 3 to activate instead of 5, so we can get more activations if we're not necessarily going infinite. For lands, again, I'm using my Evolving Wilds and Terramorphic Expanse, of course, but I'm also using all of the paint fetches that fetch for islands. All snow-covered islands, by the way. We're rating 30 of them in this build. I'm sure more competitive builds, more focused builds can run less. But that's what I'm running. Just just 30 islands and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fetches. We've got Karn the Great Cater in here. That means, yes, Michael Synflatus is in here. It's in the 99, not in the sideboard. No, if you're going to run Karn the Great Cater, do not sideboard Michael Synflatus. That's just dirty. For win cons, Merit Lage's Slumber. 10 or more snow permanents. Hey, maybe a few of these islands. Maybe that Cold Steel Heart. Why not? It's one way to win the game. Turn Merit Lage's Slumber into a 20/20 and take infinite turns. Blasting Station, Grinding Station, Summoning Station, Salvaging Station. This is my other win con. Is just kind of going nuts with these. So Merit Lage is here for anyone we can't target, and for anyone that we can, well, we'll just throw them out with the station cycle. Salvaging Station is the most useful of the 4. This is one that I play a lot in my other decks because I have a lot of 1 mana artifacts that just happen to draw me cards, or just happen to bounce creatures, or just happen to remove artifacts and enchantments. Talking about the bauble cycle, of course, all the baubles. So I've always had a lot of love for Salvaging Station, but I threw the whole 5th Dawn station cycle in here because why not? So yeah, there's some mana rocks, of course, that I'm not playing with. I don't have Mana Vault in here because it doesn't untap on its own. I don't have Grim Monolith. But the way I look at it, this deck is expensive enough already. If we check out the overview on this one, that's another reason I don't recommend building this deck. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Let's see what EDH Rec wants to suggest for us. It might not find anything. Unfortunately, we could not. Okay, yeah. I'm sure I marked it, but I couldn't detect it for whatever reason, so maybe it's because there's not a lot of these decks up yet. So if you want to add more non-basics and just really ramp up the ramp, yeah, Inventor's Fair, maybe, because it does do another artifact. Ancient Tomb, if you really want to rush out Urza. Academy Runes wouldn't necessarily be a bad choice. Blast Zone, nah. I don't think any of these are necessary in this deck, because this already taps for blue. I'd just rather have the Snow Islands, personally. And Teleria West, this might be a good idea. It's one that I considered, but I did not throw in. How about other spells? Mystical Tutor. I thought it was a little too slow to put it on the top in this instance, so that's why I didn't go that way. Spells includes artifacts, apparently, so they do suggest Mana Vault, but I did not go with it myself. War of Invention, that would have been an excellent choice. I didn't consider that one at all, but that would be an excellent choice. Muddle the Mixture, also an excellent choice. It'd be tuning out a lot of 2-cost artifacts. Rhystic Study, nah. The goal is to go off before we even need that many cards. Mystic Remora, perhaps, but not Rhystic Study. And Chrome Mox, well, all our artifacts will be tapping for mana anyway, so I did not go with Chrome Mox personally. Does this recommend any creatures? This ought to be good. Sign Master Topterist, nah. Ethereum Sculptor, maybe. That would have been a good add, actually. That would be actually a superior choice to Joyous Familiar. So this would be a good recommendation. I like that idea. Spellseeker, search for instant converted mana cost 2. That's Dramatic Reversal, so yeah. This is also an excellent choice. Memnarch, that's another possible win con, I guess. Just kind of turn everything into an artifact and take control of it. Gilded Drake, not really. Spellskite? Never seen this one, actually. That's a good way to defend yourself. I don't know if I would play, but it's a good way to defend yourself. And it suggests a Trophy Mage for artifacts costing exactly 3. I did think about Trophy Mage and Treasure Mage, but other than the... Actually, that would get me some of the pieces of the station cycle. And of course, Foundry Inspector, also another way to reduce the cost of artifacts. If I went full out with the whole Foundry Inspector, Ethereum Sculptor, Joyous Familiar trick, then if I were to go with all of those, then other cards I would put in include, what was it? It returns all artifacts target player controls to its owner's hand. I'm sure someone's already typing in the name of that card right now if they're hearing this and they're like, "This is the name of the card." I know the card exists. I've had it. I've seen what it can do. So if I was going to reduce cost, that's one thing I would do. And it looks like I have to go answer a door. So I will talk to everyone again later on. This was my take on Urza, Lord High Artificer, and I will chat again with you all soon. It'll be about 3-4 weeks because I will be out of town for some training courses, so might be a while before you hear from me again. But yeah, enjoy the deck, have fun with Modern Horizons, and I will see you all next time.